I know this is a hard time for some of you, but there is one cure for all the division and the hatred and the scorn in our world. Is a plum. Not this plum in particular, but Plum OS for the GKD Bubble. Huh? How's that for a fake out intro, Stubbs?
So we have the GameKitty Bubble Classic Arrow. Is that a sticker? Nope, it's part of the box. What do we get? Urgh. The handheld and a quick start guide. That's it. This thing didn't even come with an SD card. Frequently asked question. Where's the game preview saved? How can I add it myself? The game preview image is located in the images folder. Well, I don't have a TF card. You didn't send one. I don't know if that's going to be standard or if this is just because we got this as kind of an early release. No big deal because we have Plum OS, which we just flashed, and it goes on System TF. There's no way to tell which way it goes. Don't like that. I guess this way? Yes? Okay. Now you put your games in regular TF. And then turn it on. We're expanding on our first load. I really like just the whole Game Gear aspect of this. That's really, really cool. Oh, here's Plum OS. While Plum OS is loading, let's compare it with the original. This is actually my wife's Game Gear. So guys out there, find yourself a girl who is super obsessed with Game Gear and just put a ring on her. Not only did she have the Game Gear, she has the entire kit. It has a car adapter and a wall wart, which you're going to need because this thing just sucks batteries. And she still has a whole mess of games. Obviously, she was kind of Disney heavy as a 90s girl, but NBA Jam's in there too. Huh? And as part of this video, as we explore Plum OS on the GameKitty Bubble, we're also going to explore my top 10, in no particular order, GameCube games. Man, just look at the comparison. Even the weird angle of the screen is the same. The dots, the same. The D-pad, very, very similar. I tell you what, if they would have put like a 1 and a 2 over here instead of B and A, that would have been cool. Even the start button, which that's not the start button. This is the start button. This is a menu button. This is the start button. But I mean, it's very clear that they went all out to make a Game Gear. And just like I say with all the Anbernic H700 ones, I'm here for it. I'm here with mirroring the aesthetic of an old handheld in a new handheld. I think that's cool. Before we dive into our GameCube showcase, the GKD Bubble, which I love the name, it's so stupid, but I love it. The GKD Bubble has a 3.5-inch screen, and it has the RK3566 chip, which means it'll play up to some N64, some PSP, and some Dreamcast. But anything below that, like every PlayStation game except Vagrant Story, J-Lash, are you satisfied? Pretty much 99.99% of PlayStation and below will play fine on here, which is pretty slick. However, I have probably reviewed, I don't know, 15 3566 systems, so I'm not going to bore you with Dreamcast or PlayStation or try to push it with N64 or anything like that. We're just going to do some Game Gear stuff. Now, this 3.5-inch screen has a resolution of 680 by 480p, which I'm pretty sure, is 3x pixel perfect Game Boy Advance. How about that? So in addition to playing some Game Gear games on here, this might actually be a sneaky good Game Boy Advance system for you. It has a 4,000 milliamp hour battery. They don't tell you on the back here, but it does, trust me, which would get you, I don't know, probably around 4 or 5 hours of solid gameplay, maybe a little bit more if you're playing less graphically intensive stuff. It has an interesting D-pad, which I really like. It almost reminds me of the Arc. Where's my Arc? It's reminiscent of the Arc, but it's not the same. We'll test it a little bit, but it has that kind of feel to it. Just like a good old 8-way Sega D-pad. These two switch sticks, nothing to write home about. They're there. Your face buttons, they seem okay. This is a menu button. I think a menu button. You have your home up here. I don't know what that does. You have a power button. You have your shoulder buttons up here. Pretty loud, but unremarkable. Your volume is on the bottom, which is kind of odd. And then, like I said before, your start and select are down here. They are also very loud. Everything is loud except for these face buttons. And even they are not super, super quiet. But these, super clicky. As I mentioned before, mine did not ship with anything. No SD card, no operating system on board, nothing. However, when you try to buy this online, like at keepretro.com, you cannot get this without at least a 64 gigabyte card. So I feel like shipping it without a card was, I don't know, some sort of expediency just to get it to me. And that's okay, because Plum OS is already up and running on here, and Plum OS is just a modification of the existing operating system. It's based on EmuElec, as you can tell. It's actually pretty good. It's not just a serviceable stopgap kind of thing. It's pretty solid for what it is. Might need to charge mine here. It shipped at sub 50%. Oh well. Hey Gary, did you know that Ugreen sent us another round of Uno chargers? You didn't? Well, I'm not surprised, because my wife saw these ones and grabbed them from me immediately. I had to tell her I was recharging these just so I could film this segment. She loves these things. The Uno wired and magnetic 10,000 mAh power banks. They both feature that same cute robot design with a smart display, and they're both slim enough for her to throw in her bag. It's basically a little bit bigger than an old BlackBerry and a little smaller than your standard smartphone. Don't you wink at me, you weirdos. The wired power bank can output at 30 watts, and since she loves to let her phone get down to like 5% before she thinks about getting a cord, this thing is powerful enough to fast charge and quickly recharge her phone. Speaking of the cord, she loses cords like it's her job. That's no worry with the wired power bank, because the wire is integrated into the design. There's a hollowed out space on the back, and it snaps back in when you're not using it. And it folds out when you want to charge something. No lost cords. The other power bank she took from me is the 15-watt wireless power bank. It completely eliminates the issue of lost or damaged cords because it charges wirelessly with magnets. How do they work? This power bank is Qi 2 certified, so it'll work great with any Apple product, and it has enough battery life to charge an iPhone 16 Pro 1.6 times. Wow! The wireless power bank also features a sweet little built-in stand. Huh? So you can prop your phone on there while you're charging, and it's not going anywhere because of magnets. If you or that special someone in your life is looking for a power bank, or a charger, or anything related to powering your devices, take a look at what Ugreen has to offer. They're doing Black Friday early this year on the 21st, and they'll be running deals through Cyber Monday on December 2nd. If you're looking for a cute stocking stuffer, these power banks were a big hit for me, especially if you live with someone who lives on the edge when it comes to battery life. Thanks again to our sponsor today, Ugreen. I decided to plug this in between shots, and it's actually really cool because the charging light is the red light over here in the corner next to the green on light. It's actually a really cool callback to the original colors on the actual Game Gear. Good job, GKD. First off, we have Shinobi II, The Silent Fury. Now, Shinobi II is a fast-packed action platformer and sequel to the original Game Gear Shinobi. How about that? The game continues the story of Joe Musashi, our old ninja, who embarks on a quest to retrieve 5 elemental crystals stolen by an evil group. Ooh. Players navigate through varied and vividly designed stages using unique powers to solve puzzles, reach new areas, and defeat tough bosses. The game incorporates a balance of combat, stealth, and exploration, and Shinobi 2 is praised for its creative level design and smooth gameplay mechanics, which really push the Game Gear's hardware. Featuring that strategic character switching, the game has become a beloved entry in the series, showcasing intense gameplay and polished graphics, particularly for an early handheld. Vampire Master of Darkness is a horror-themed action platformer. It's basically Castlevania for the Game Gear, which is fine, because it's good. It's set in Victorian England, and the game follows Dr. Ferdinand Social. That's his name, swear to God. He's a paranormal expert who sets out to investigate a series of murders linked to Dracula. Ooh. The gameplay takes you through eerie environments like graveyards, ghostly mansions, and crypts, all filled with a variety of classic horror enemies like vampires, zombies, and werewolves. Ugh. Werewolf, their wolf, huh? You get to use a range of weapons, from knives to axes and even pistols. That's right, you're strapped. The game emphasizes atmosphere with well-designed visuals and sound effects that enhance the dark and spooky setting. Ooh. Vampire Master of Darkness has gained a reputation for its high-quality design and engaging gameplay, delivering a memorable gothic horror experience on the Game Gear. Up next is Mega Man. Now, Mega Man, you would assume Nintendo, but no! They specifically made a Game Gear exclusive Mega Man. It combines elements from Mega Man 4 and Mega Man 5 from the NES, including some of the robot bosses and level designs from both games. We played this for Game of the Week, and it's pretty short, and the graphical quality is low compared to the NES games, but you still really capture that core Mega Man experience. The platforming is pretty tight, the weapons are just what you would normally expect from a Mega Man game, and the boss fights, some of them can be really tough, but the boss fights make it a worthwhile experience for fans of the series who are looking for a portable Mega Man adventure. Defenders of Oasis. Defenders of Oasis is an RPG, which is always welcome on a portable device, and it has a distinct Arabian Nights-inspired setting and story. Players control a young prince who embarks on a journey to defend his kingdom from an ancient evil. I mean, that's pretty standard for an RPG, except this time your team includes a genie! Whoa! You travel through towns, dungeons, and deserts, confronting various mythical creatures and uncovering the secrets of your kingdom's history. Ooh. Now, this game has traditional turn-based combat and exploration, but it features a fairly unique leveling system and lets you strategically customize your abilities so you can overcome the bad guys. The game has a pretty rich story, an immersive world, and a unique theme, which set it apart from other RPGs of its time. Defenders of Oasis is celebrated for bringing an epic and well-crafted role-playing experience to the Game Gear. Speaking of sweet role-playing games, Shining Force, The Sword of Hayja. That's how I say it. Shining Force, The Sword of Hayja is a tactical RPG that combines classic turn-based strategy with an engaging fantasy storyline. Ooh. This game follows Prince Nick and all of his buddies as they defend their kingdom against an invading army. The game focuses on tactical decision-making, requiring players to position units effectively and to consider their characters' strengths and weaknesses. As characters level up, they gain new abilities and can evolve into more powerful classes, adding depth and strategy to the gameplay. Known for its intuitive combat system and compelling storyline, The Sword of Hayja stands out as a solid and satisfying tactical RPG experience on the Game Gear. It's also, I think, the only tactical RPG experience on the Game Gear, so luckily, it's good. Up next, we got Ninja Gaiden. Ninja Gaiden for the Game Gear brought the intense action and ninja combat of the classic Ninja Gaiden series to the Sega handheld. In this version, players take on the role of Ryu, a skilled ninja on a mission to stop an evil sorcerer from unleashing dark forces. Gameplay centers on fast-paced action and platforming as players slash through enemies, avoid traps, and defeat challenging bosses. The Game Gear version of Ninja Gaiden is notable for responsive controls and a really high difficulty level, requiring precise timing and skillful combat. Even though it simplifies the graphics and the gameplay elements compared to like the NES version, Ninja Gaiden retains the series' trademark difficulty and fast-paced action, making it an enjoyable, although tough, experience for fans of classic action platformers. Land of Illusion starring Mickey Mouse is a charming platformer where players control Mickey as he journeys through a magical world to rescue a kidnapped friend. Each level is themed after classic Disney worlds, and Mickey gains new abilities as he progresses, like shrinking to fit through small spaces or picking up blocks to solve puzzles. The game offers a mix of combat, platforming, and puzzle solving, creating a varied and enjoyable experience. This game is well regarded for its beautiful visuals and solid level design, showcasing detailed animations and colorful settings. Despite its relatively simple premise, Land of Illusion provides a well-balanced challenge, appealing to both younger players and adults alike. Sylvan Tale is a Game Gear game you might not be familiar with because it was a Japanese-only game. There is an English patch available, which is what we're showing now, but basically, Sylvan Tale is like Legend of Zelda for the Game Gear. In Sylvan Tale, you control a hero on a quest to stop an ancient evil from awakening. The game world is filled with forests, dungeons, and mythical landscapes, which you explore while solving puzzles, defeating monsters, and gathering items to strengthen your character. The game emphasizes exploration and puzzle solving, encouraging players to backtrack with newly acquired abilities to reach previously inaccessible areas. Sylvan Tale stands out for its lush graphics, intricate level design, and engaging storyline. It's often praised as one of the best action-adventure experiences on the Game Gear, offering an immersive fantasy world with gameplay depth rare for handheld titles. Sonic the Hedgehog. The Game Gear version of Sonic the Hedgehog captures the speed and platforming excitement of the iconic game. Players control Sonic as he runs through vibrant zones, collecting rings and battling Dr. Robotnik and his robotic minions. This game actually includes unique level layouts that are distinct from the original Genesis version, making it a fresh experience on the handheld, even if you played the original one to death. The gameplay is fast-paced and challenging, with a focus on speed and quick reflexes, as Sonic must navigate obstacles, loops, and enemies. This Game Gear version of Sonic is known for its colorful graphics and smooth animation, providing an impressive adaptation of the franchise's high-speed platforming on the little Game Gear. Despite the smaller screen size, the game effectively captures all of the excitement of the original. Up last is Streets of Rage 2. Streets of Rage 2 on the Game Gear is a beat-em-up that brings the popular Sega Genesis brawler to a handheld format. The story follows our old buddies Axel and Blaze as they team up with new allies to rescue their kidnapped friend Adam from the evil syndicate led by Mr. X. You guys really went all out with the names, huh? Players progress through side-scrolling levels, battling waves of enemies with punches, kicks, and special moves. Ooh. Although the Game Gear version does simplify the graphics and the gameplay from the original, it retains the core beat-em-up action, offering satisfying combat. The game captures the gritty atmosphere of the Streets of Rage series with well-designed levels and enemies that require timing and strategy. As one of the premier brawlers on the Game Gear, it provides a solid portable adaptation of the classic arcade action. Well, Gary, it's time for What Did We Learn? And we learned that the GameKitty Bubble console is a very faithful recreation of the original Game Gear. Now, the GameKitty Bubble is roughly $76 on keepretro.com. You might be able to find it for a little bit cheaper on AliExpress or other storefronts, especially if you use our AliExpress coupons. Check those out in the description. But for, let's say, $70 to $80, is it the best overall 3566 value? No, it's not. But if you're nuts for Game Gear, just the overall aesthetic of this, it might be worth it. I know people that the Arc is their favorite handheld because it's just the Sega handheld for them. And that's fine. That's a completely valid reason for buying something like this. If you're a huge Game Gear fan and you want to try a bunch of Game Gear games like I showed today, then yeah, this is probably a really good bet for you, especially if you like the overall aesthetic. If you're looking for more bang for your buck, I would probably go with one of the cheaper RGXX models, or heck, even the Powkitty V10 for around $30. You can have a very, very similar experience in a much smaller and non-Game Gear format. The overall feel of it is a little cheaper than I would like for something that's roughly $80, but otherwise the ergonomics are good. The buttons are a little loud like we talked about in the beginning, but I honestly sat here and I had to tell myself after 25 minutes of wasted footage to stop playing Shining Force. I was drawn in. And if you are a huge Game Gear fan, you might be drawn in too. Anyway, if you liked the video, if you liked the GameKitty Bubble with its ridiculous name, then be sure to leave a like and subscribe. You know how to do that. You know how to use YouTube. It's almost 2025, for God's sakes. Like and subscribe, ring the bell, all that jazz, and we'll see you next time with even more zany reviews from your old buddy Zoo, your only buddy Zoo. Zoo is the only one you can trust. Every other reviewer is lying to you. Not Zoo. Not Zoo. He is the only one you can trust. He has a plum. Goodbye!